Roberto, was it much of a problem, the game being called off the other night?
Well, it was because it was so. We were all ready and we were ready to get out and warm up, and then obviously it's a difficult moment because you know that the fans are going to be ready. Everyone was looking forward to the game, and at that moment you get you all hype up for the game, and it's a real downer when you get those news. But the reality is that we had it wasn't a case of having an opinion about it. Safety reasons, you can compromise on that. You need to make sure that the experience of coming to watch your team and watching a football game has to be very safe, and we couldn't guarantee that. So obviously it had to happen, and now we're ready to face the game on Sunday, and we'll see when we can rearrange the game against Crystal Palace.
And also, though, enable you to get a few more faces back fit for another game.
Well, you need to be positive. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But obviously, you don't want to lose any from that period until you play. And I think we were ready. Crystal Palace came all the way from London, and obviously, there's a lot of preparation involved nowadays in every game in the league. So you don't wanna get a game called off. But as I mentioned, we're looking forward now. It's a positive spin to look at it in a way that we got an extra home game in this final third, so we're looking forward to it.
Is Traore now fit, ready to start?
Well, he's getting there. He's been working really well. He has benefited from these extra days. That's the truth from an individual point of view. Last season has been really sharp in training. He surprised everyone in the medical department in terms of how quickly he's got his fitness levels high and ready for the competition. So we need to make sure that there is no risk whatsoever for him to participate. But clearly Sunday is a good opportunity for him to be involved in one way or another.
How are you otherwise?
Yes, we exactly the same that we were on Wednesday. So in terms of numbers, we got the same squad, only the 3 long-term absentees. Brian Oviedo, he was around the place and recovering really well. Darren Gibson and Aruna Kone, that is still out. Obviously, Antolin will miss the weekend, but is nearly ready. And Romelu Lukaku, very similar. So it's very good news in that respect.
How careful do you have to be with Ross Barkley at the moment?
Well, Ross is a young man that he can get through anything. That's where you need to be careful, because he'll never be conscious of if he's feeling any pain. Or I'm really pleased the way that he's putting himself up for the games, and he wants to be ready. But Ross is going to be vital for us in this final third, and we need to make sure that we use him wisely and we use him always 100%.
Has there been any further developments as regards contracts for Ross?
No. Everything is still the same behind the scenes.
Did that wait till the end of the season, or is it something that you will look at between now and the end of the season?
No. As we mentioned, is always the case. We'll always reward the players that they deserve it, and obviously Ross is one of those.
Does that go for David Ferrer, a different situation, but is that something that you will address in the summer as well, or are you looking at the possibility of him staying on here next season?
Well, it's not the time. Obviously, now we're starting the most exciting moment of the season. You're going into the final third. I think the team has been developing really quickly and really well. All the players, whichever the situation they have contractually, all they're looking is to be at their best, to be ready to help the team, and to make sure that as a group we finish as strong as we can. And then in the summer we'll look into every single situation. That doesn't mean only the players that they are in short-term contracts. All the players need to be reviewed, their position, and looking at their performances and where they are, and making sure that from season to season we get as strong as we can be. So it's not a difference. We're just focusing on the next 13 games in the league. We're facing a very much welcome distraction with the FA Cup. The 5th round is always an exciting moment in this competition. We're playing at home, and we know it's going to be an entertaining, open, and on a game of real technical quality. So very much an important stage of the season for us.
At this stage, then, do you prioritise what is more important, the top 4 or winning a trophy?
No, I think you get into this position that every game is a vital game, and we want to perform well. We want to try to find a way to win it, and you don't differentiate between the two competitions. For different reasons, every game becomes vital, significant. So in that respect, we want to be as good as we can in both competitions from now till the end of the season.
Can winning a trophy have as big an impact as getting into the top four?
Well, you want to have success, and as a team, that's what you work in over 8 months to try to put yourself in a position where you're still involved in competitions when you are in mid-February. And success means to get as far as you can in a cup tournament and finish with a maximum number of points, and achieving those points in the league with the best possible way in terms of style, in terms of football concepts and performances, and that's what we pride ourselves to try to make sure that we are pristine from now till the end of the season in every single game that we approach.
Is there a different feeling going up against a former club in the cup as opposed to a league game?
Not really, no. I think obviously the games are not about managers or where the managers have been in the past. I'll always share magnificent memories of my time at Swansea, not just as a player and as a captain, as a manager as well. But the game on Sunday is about the 5th round. It's about a unique opportunity for one of the two teams to get into the 6th round of the competition and carry on a very good journey so far. We had to face different types of environments. We adapted really well. We faced one of the best teams in the Championship at home. We had to go and adapt to a difficult ground in a typical cup tie against Stevenage, and now we got Premier League opposition. So those are the different challenges that the cup throws at you, and I do feel that we are ready to face them.
I think Gary Monk followed you as captain at Swansea.
He did, yeah. Gary Monk was my first big decision as a manager in terms of shaping a squad. I had to decide of giving him a new contract and keeping him at the club after a very difficult injury. He ruptured his cruciate, and I built a new squad around him. I knew that he was the perfect captain, and it was important that he would keep that role for the future, knowing that we were going to bring many different foreigners, different talents into the squad. So it's a nice twist. It's a nice moment to see him in the opposite dugout on Sunday.
Made a decent start as manager as well.
Really good, yeah, really strong. Obviously, the Welsh derby can be as intense as it gets for a new manager coming into one of the South Wales clubs. So it was a really good start. I think obviously to be unbeaten against Stoke in another difficult game in the league is showing that this group are reacting well, that this group is in a very good moment of the season, and obviously we know that we're going to expect a very difficult and a tough encounter on Sunday.
Did you see it as someone who would move into management? Gary?
Yeah, well, it had that leadership. It had that DNA, if you want, of being able to control a group, and as I said, I think being a captain in a club like Swansea City, where is so involved with the community and is an intense surrounding the football club, I think it prepares you for that. And I think Gary always responded really well. He had time in the last few months, hasn't been involved playing football, and that probably helped him to look around from the distance and put his thoughts together and develop a good method of work. So it didn't surprise me at all when Gary started his career so well.
And just finally from me, Roy Hodgson said yesterday, for years people have been understudy to Ashley Cole. Now it's Ashley's turn to sit back. Is that a hint, do you feel, that Leighton Baines has won that battle for the starting role at the World Cup?
Well, only the national team manager knows that. I think what's important is that Leighton has been enjoying a very consistent season so far, but obviously the options for this England side are phenomenal. So I think that's first and foremost. The pleasing aspect for English football is the amount of good youngsters and good players that they are now performing important roles at club level that they're going to help in the national team. But obviously, from our point of view, we've seen Leighton enjoying a very good season, a season that is going to get stronger in the final third with the stability of his new contract. And for us, he's such an important player that I know now that he can do that for the national team. He's mature enough, he's been through the experiences to be able to enjoy his football in the way that he does at Everton, to do it with England. So he's a massive, massive asset for English football.
Could with the next 2 games, could these effectively define or have a big part to play in how Everton's season goes?
Well, obviously, the longer that you get involved in a cup competition is always a defining moment, because every round is you fighting to stay in the competition. So staying in the competition further than the 5th round is always significant, but nothing different than the fact that we want to finish the season as strong as we can be. It's not just doing well over the next 2 weeks. That's going to be good enough for our standards. We want to do well from now to the end of the season. I do feel that the work that we've done in the last 8 months is got the squad ready with an incredible competition for places. Now we're starting to get every player back, and I do feel that we are in the best moment of the season to face the final third. The season is not going to be decided in the success of the next 2 weeks, but clearly you want to win as many games as you can, and a round like the 5th round is always significant.
You're obviously the holder, currently the manager of the FA Cup. You had that success with Wigan, but the end of the Premier League season wasn't quite the happy ending that you'd wanted. How does that work then, as you move along in tandem?
Well, I think it's something that you need to use in your advantage. I think the success in the Cup can really help in the league, and the other way around. It's just finding enough strength in the squad to face both competitions if you're going to get a piled up of fixtures. As it happens this season, it works really, really well when the FA Cup final is the last game of the calendar. Last year wasn't the case, and I don't think it was a real helpful issue when you had to play the FA Cup final the weekend before the final game of the season, and that meant that you had 3 games in the final week. But I think the FA Cup final should always be the final game of the year or the season, and that's the case this campaign. So it's not an excuse. I think the longer that you stay in a cup competition, the better momentum that you can carry in every game that you play in around those rounds. So it's important for us that we are as good as we can in every game that we go into in both competitions.
So was it a hindrance in many ways last season too, do you think? Then?
No, it's the opposite. I think obviously the final was a fixture that it got on the way of the final week. Obviously, you shouldn't rely on going into the final week to achieve your aim in the league. But as you are progressing in the previous rounds, going through the 5th round and the 6th round and the semi-final, that builds an important momentum, and that expands the squad, if you want, because the youngsters got an opportunity to show what they can do. So it makes you stronger as a squad as you progressing. But clearly, is a good sign that the FA Cup final is the final game of the season.
So it's set up in many ways, I'm not getting ahead of myself, that you're going to be at the final, but it's set up in many ways better this season for whoever does.
It is, yeah. It is. For any club, I think, going into the final week of the season, whichever your aim is in the league, you shouldn't get punished by playing in the FA Cup final. It should be the opposite. It should be a real moment to treasure, a moment to enjoy, and clearly, I really think that that's the right thing for every club that is involved in both competitions.
Just going back to Gary Monk, you said you made a big decision to build a side around him at Swansea. Does that forge a stronger relationship with players like that when you do something?
Well, you do. I think you forge strong relationships with everyone that you work in a dressing room. Obviously, the captain, you're always going to share better moments or bigger moments or more emotional moments. And Gary's always been a responsible character in that dressing room. Remember that when I took over at Swansea, it was a real need to bring different talent, and I decided to bring players from abroad. And when you do that, you need to make sure that you rely on that British core, and obviously Gary was at the centre of it. That's been very influential in that dressing room since then. But to allow a foreign player to come in and have a big influence and being able to show your talent and help the team is down to have a good British core, and Gary was at the centre of it, and he was the one that I knew he could do that role perfectly well, even though he was coming at the back of a very difficult injury and a difficult moment. But I knew that that he had all the elements that they were needed to build a team full of different cultures and different mentalities to try to work together as a winning side.
How much importance do you put on a captain? I mean, obviously, who's inherited the captain of Phil, I suppose, but in terms of choosing, how important is it to choose the right man, and how much importance do you see them having?
Yeah, I think you cannot underestimate the dynamics of a dressing room. You can, and obviously a big part of it is down to the captain. Not just the captain that he wears the armband. I think you can get 4 or 5 senior figures that they are the captains of the group. They are leaders. They show the way. Not just for the younger players. If you want to give young players big roles, you rely on the senior players to give them direction. But especially the way the game is gone nowadays is a mixture of cultures, and the foreign players should add their talent. But to do that, you need direction, and that comes from those leaders, those captains that they are within your football club. So as you can imagine, if football would be an individual sport, it wouldn't be important at all. But when you rely on the dressing room dynamics, the role of the captain is very influential and very important.
Have you spoken to Gary since he took over?
No, we had a conversation when obviously he was appointed, and I'm sure he's been too busy since then to have any time on the phone with anyone.
But what advice did you offer? Did you offer him any?
No, he doesn't need any advice. Believe me, I think he's very, very thorough. He puts a lot of time in everything that he does, and he knows exactly what he wants. I think he's got a real respect from everyone at the club and in the dressing room, and that as a manager is vital to have a good enjoyment in your role, and I think he's done that.